I'd like to start out by thanking everyone for posting their questions and making this video possible. I've received a great deal of positive feedback from viewers who enjoyed these question and answer videos, which is always good to hear. Okay, let's begin. Had the events depicted in Goodfellas not happened, would Paulie have been the next boss instead of Vic? Paulie Vario was not only the captain of a Brooklyn crew, but held administration positions as well. If he was never convicted, both in 1984 and 1985, with a combined sentence of 14 years, then more than likely, he would have been chosen to lead the family. However, even if that were to take place, he did die in the summer of 1988, at which time Vic and Gas would have made their move. So essentially, it was inevitable. What happened to the Colombo member who told his girl you were a member? Was he punished? This person speaking about Joey Amato, who years ago told this girl that I was new and at the time only straightened out for 5 years. She repeated his words to a person I was dating. But the answer is nothing happened. Joey was a friend of mine, and that conversation was one that came from women. I never mentioned it to Joey or anyone else for that matter. We all had said things or discussed things with a woman, things probably best left unsaid. I'm not going to repeat a lot of what I've heard guys tell women, but trust me, it takes place. Even from a boss who heads what's referred to as the West Side. So this is a common occurrence. I don't think Joey meant any harm. For the most part, he conducts himself well, but he's human at the same time, and as humans, we all make mistakes. Have you ever dined or taken a meeting at one of the Palm restaurants in Manhattan? Never a meeting, but many years ago, Tony Muscatello took me to the Palm, where I had a steak that was very good. Speaking of food, a special someone just made me lamb chops last night that were unbelievably good and seasoned to perfection. Some people just eat to eat, but I love food. In prison, does a member's street rank give them power over other members and associates, or does the rank only hold power on the street? I've never done federal time, but in the state system, it didn't matter. We were all equal. For instance, Lucchese member Joe Torti was in Fishkill with us and was a friend, a member. At the time, we were associates, and Torti got abused. Nice guy, but the furthest thing from a tough guy. Speaking of prison, I'll quickly share a story. There was a guy named Dino that was with us. In fact, he was always kissing Torti's ass. Anyway, he was also good friends with a friend of mine, and back on the street, obviously we were both out of prison, my friend mentioned that Dino killed himself. But before he did, he went to my friend and asked him if he could borrow a pistol, and told my friend that he needed it for a score, and he would hit my friend off with 10,000. Thankfully, my friend never gave it to him because Dino used a gun to kill himself. So imagine if he was found with a gun next to his body that my friend gave him with my friend's fingerprints on it. Which goes to show you, one wrong decision can change the course of your life. A good thing to keep in mind is prior to making decisions, take the time to think about every possible outcome, and it'll save you a great deal of heartache. You'd think if Chin Gigante had not chosen that life, he could have been a successful businessman in the legit world, or was he just better suited for the criminal life? While there were many guys I met that absolutely could have been successful in a legitimate arena, Chin, and I think most will agree, was meant to be who he was. I can't imagine him in a business suit reporting to the office every morning. I could be wrong, but that's my opinion. And that's not to say he didn't have the brains that could match any CEO. I just believe he chose the path that was best suited for him. But again, it's a life that picks you, not the other way around. One of the most important things a young person can do is be extremely conscious of who his friends are. As the saying goes, show me your friends, and I'll show you your future. Did you know Gary Gugliaro to be in Joey Amato's crew? There was a problem years ago involving Gary, and I needed to prevent a young guy from getting a beating. The issue was, Gary and I never met, never been officially introduced. When I did speak with him, I mentioned that I could call Joey first before we spoke, and told him, if you want, I could get in touch with our friend Joey and have him come here first before we speak. Our friend being the operative words. But Gary fully understood what I was telling him and said that wasn't necessary, and we spoke about the issue at hand. Gary wound up doing me a favor, and they never touched the kid, who happened to be the nephew of the person I was dating at the time. Joey had mentioned to me that Gary used to be in his crew, but wasn't anymore, and I forget which crew he was in when the incident took place. Gary was a very nice guy, at least that's the impression I got of him when we spoke. Can you explain the term rocking a guy to sleep? Basically, anytime a guy lured someone, which would typically be a good friend of his, to a meeting and instead lured the guy to his death, that's rocking a guy to sleep. Acting normal when planning something nefarious is a better way to describe it. If Anthony Corallo decided to let his captains vote in a new boss, rather than allowing Luongo, Amuso, and Casso to work it out amongst themselves, would that have prevented Luongo's murder? And if not, if he was voted in by the captains, would they look to kill Amuso and Casso? I would say if the captains voted someone in other than Luongo, he wouldn't be viewed as a target for Vic and Gas. But if he was voted in and then disappeared, the captains would have every right to take action, and I wouldn't be able to say if they would hit Vic and Gas or not. The next person wants to know why capable and good-earning guys like Tony Muscatello and Johnny Santori were not members. Was there any particular reason, or just the way it happened? As for Tony Muscatello, I'm not really sure. I do know he was treated as a member and had the capability to speak to anyone. Johnny Santori was not around for over 20 years due to a misunderstanding, but when back on the street, from what I was told, he was going to be straightened out, but wind up passing away prior to that taking place. And let me just give some insight into what took place on the day John died. Guys in Ciro's crew, going under the orders of Ciro, went into John's apartment looking for money. They even moved his body off the couch where he died onto the floor. It was disgraceful. Then they even blamed someone for stealing the money that was later found inside of a vacuum cleaner. Again, if anyone can point out the respect and honor, I'm listening. Here's a question that was sent to me outside of YouTube. Why, as a member, do you have to report it to your captain prior to leaving New York on a trip or something? This is true. You're expected to let your captain know you're going somewhere and won't be around. Another reason why you have to let your captain know is it's possible wherever you're going, he or someone else might want you to go see someone or send a message in the area you're visiting. What were some of your favorite books that you read while in prison? I read so many books, and I always wish I would have made a list of them. I remember the first book someone handed me, which was Swan Song. It was interesting and very good. One of the first mob-related books I read was a fictional book called Ride a Tiger, and it was very good. I read most of Nelson DeMille's books, like The Charm School, and also read books such as The Art of Happiness, which I highly recommend, naturally The 48 Laws of Power, The Art of War, Book of Five Rings, etc. I could go on and on when it comes to books. The more you read, the more you learn. If you haven't had the chance to like this video, please do, as it helps with YouTube's algorithm. And if you'd like to show appreciation for videos like this, or help me to continue making them, you can do that by donating with the Super Thanks icon down below, or through the PayPal Cash App links in the video's description. And this final question is both interesting and surprising. This person wrote, I keep reading comments online from more and more people who want to bring the mafia back to clean up New York City. What do you think about this trend? To start with, I didn't know the mob left New York City, or that they were involved in creating better or safer environments, or that it's a trend. People leaving comments online are typically mob fans who are blinded by the glorification of that lifestyle, which is understandable coming from people who haven't a clue as to who they're praising. But I'll wrap my response up in a big bow. A New York City devoid of the mob is a cleaner New York City, and anyone thinking that the mob is their saving grace are hopeless poor souls.